You are listening to the Casting Shadows podcast, a projection across the present to the past and future of the Casting Shadows blog and the YouTube channel better known, like me, its host, as Runeslinger. Just in case the title didn't make it abundantly clear, the topic of this episode is to present a survey of posts that I've seen for RPG A Day 2024 that made me smile or that I enjoyed for some particular reason of my own, and I want to share with all of you. One of the things that we can become really focused on during an event like this is completing it ourselves and getting the posts out there. And that can mean sometimes that we miss out on what everybody else is doing. So it's been an unofficial part of the event for quite a few years now that when you find that cool post that makes you smile, that video, that short, that picture, that moment of inspired interpretive dance, you like it, leave a comment for the person. And more importantly, you share it and make sure it's tagged RPG A Day 2024 so that other people can find it this year and in the future. All right. So during the month of August, as regular listeners and readers already know, David Chapman and I host RPG A Day. And using our respective blogs, his being the Autocratic blog and mine being the aforementioned Casting Shadows blog, we've hosted this global event for gamers and have seen it spread from one media platform to many, from one language to many, and from one format to many, and more than that to endure for 11 years, growing stronger and reaching farther each year. This year in particular has seen both an increase in overall participation and an increase in participants returning to it after some time away or after repeatedly being prevented from completing the 31-day challenge aspect of the event. It's great to see both the new people and those who have returned to it. And of course, the month-long challenge is fun and difficult. But it's the positivity aspect which is important to David and me. When thousands of gamers across the most popular media platforms around the world, in a slew of languages, start praising the games they love, be they old ones, new ones, fancy ones or simple ones, solo ones or ones needing all of your friends, it has an effect. When you consider that all of the posts from all of the gamers from each of the years for more than a decade of RPG A Day are still out there to be found, still out there to deliver their message of appreciation for games, gamers, and gaming, it's staggering. This episode of the podcast is the first in a planned 5-part series intended to look at some of the posts from each week of the 2024 event that I particularly enjoyed and wanted to share. This list is not exhaustive. There's a lot of great stuff out there, and it's easy to find if you look. Search for the hashtag RPGAday 2024, or in many social media platforms, just click on it and spend a few moments not doom scrolling, but game scrolling as the randomized sequence of tagged posts populates before you and leads you to games and gamers you both know and do not know, each of them trying to share something they love about a game or gaming. And it might be old hat to you, or it might be the first you have ever heard of it. A quick like, maybe a comment, possibly a share, can mean a lot to the people whose posts you enjoy, and to the people who you lead to those posts by doing this. With a survey of example responses like what I'm about to present, the temptation can always be to choose a post that speaks highly of a game that you like, or comes from people that you know. At the beginning of the event, it can be quite hard to find new people, given the antics of how social media platforms present information to us. That has meant that this list of mine turns out to be about 50% people I know and interact with throughout the year. As the event goes on, however, that algorithmic behavior will start to prevent me from seeing the people that I usually talk with and start showing me the people that I don't. So I'll be able to cast a wider net to find new people and see cool posts from all over. All right, let's get into the list, my short list for week 1. The first thing I was happy to see for this year's event doesn't really count as a week 1 post, but I want to mention it anyway one more time. That first big positive of the event for me turned out to be an alternate list of 31 fantasy prompts with a D10 pick or roll table of 10 different actions to take with each prompt. Lots of fun and creativity are represented in that list. It was sent to us in response to our June post expressing doubt that we would be able to do the event this year. And it came fully decked out for use by the Polish gaming website known in English as Challenge Rating. You can find the link to the site in the show notes, and of course, find the list on both my blog and David's. The links to those are in the show notes as well. David's Autocratic blog also has the list of prompts in plain text, and the participants submitted translations for the prompts, making it a great one-stop shop for everyone. The week 1 list starts for real with the first podcast episode for my feed, presented to me at 9 p.m. on July 31st. I debated waiting a few hours for midnight and the official start in my part of the world, but quickly ditched that idea. I was too curious. What was the post? If you're a listener of this podcast, you've probably heard it yourself, as it was a masterful and meaty episode from the Nerds RPG Variety Cast and its host, Jason Connerly. He sat down with a number of other charming gamers. Harrigan, coincidentally from my hometown, who's renowned on the BS Landia Discord, Eric Salzwedel from the Omega 3D Chicken Coop podcast, and Gabe from the Analytic Dice podcast. These 4 gentlemen shared their thoughts, their memories, and their laughter in a round-the-table survey of all 31 prompts in a sprightly and fast-paced episode well worth listening to. The link is in the show notes. The first video and the first post I saw on day 1 itself was from one of the gamers and friends in our ongoing Call of Cthulhu Actual Play series. His name is Brian Gregory, and via his Stochastic Agency channel, Brian does a friendly show-and-tell presentation for the Crown and Skull RPG. His response to the game is convincing and contagious. Unsurprisingly, links to the video are in the show notes. One more from day 1 comes from the Pink Phantom podcast. This short episode, running only 1 minute and 44 seconds, manages to beautifully integrate the purpose of the episode, the instructions for the event, and the alternate prompts list, and present a compelling first-person account of an encounter in the cellars of a castle. Simply great and worth a listen. If you listen on Spotify, the site has now enabled a comments feature, so you can let the Pink Phantom know you were there. One more from day 1 also comes from YouTube, and it's from the Dungeon Tutor YouTube channel. Now, he had the great luck to find an out-of-print game and find all the supplements for it in a half-price bookstore. He goes through his thoughts and his impressions, and his enthusiasm is contagious. It's a lot of fun. It's a game that we have played and loved around these parts, and so it was nice to see him reacting as strongly as we did. Guess where you can find a link to that video and the others that I mentioned? That's right, in the show notes. Hands down, my favorite post from day 2 came from friend and fellow gamer Francois Letarte. He's been an avid supporter of RPG A Day from the early days. He supplies the French translations of the prompts and records short videos for each day of the event in both languages. And I'm not talking about 31 videos. I'm talking about 62. We've mentioned him often throughout the years. He runs the JDRD30 channel on YouTube. This time, his post for day 2 really touched on something important. You see, Francois doesn't just game for his own enjoyment. He volunteers to run games at his local library for kids. Listen to his video, which is not about his volunteering, and see how it paints a picture of building a love for imagination, for RPGs, and community. That's what this event is all about. Day 3. Wow. Day 3. Day 3 saw a huge leap in the number of posts, though I have to say, with the general migration from public sites to private ones like Discord, it is getting harder to track people now. One post that caught my attention was a short from the Joseph Gill YouTube channel. Joe's a host of the Decahedron podcast. And on the channel and podcast, there are numerous games in rotation, from the very new, such as Star Trek Adventures, to the very old, such as Tunnels and Trolls. There's even talk of GURPS. In his short on day 3, Joe used the standard prompt about most often played game to talk about the game he has played the most in his life, with his usual good cheer and open enjoyment of the hobby. Now, that is a short, and it is short. So, for a longer form recommendation, a fun entry comes from the Creative Play and Podcast Network. Their episode for day 3 was a lot of fun. There are several hosts of different amounts of experience and different age with different but compatible interests, and they put each other on the spot to answer one or both of the prompts from day 3, and in true gamer fashion, do not resist the inevitable gamer tangents which arise as a result. The part I appreciated most is how no one is left to just offer their prompt and have it fall into silence. With a next, the rest of the crew hit them with follow-on questions to bring the idea into sharper focus. I like it. It's friendly. It's easy to listen to. The link's in the show notes. This next one was actually released on day 1, but it covers the first few prompts for RPG A Day 2024. And so I'm going to put it here on day 3. It's a collection of prompts from, well, a family, a father and daughters. It's infectious, it's fun, it's nice to put it right here in the middle of the pack of all these cool things that made me laugh and smile during the week. So, check out the Merc the Meek podcast. I think you'll like it. Guess where the link is? As you might expect for a week 1 roundup, I'll round out this episode with the end of week 1, day 4. Here endeth the first week of RPG A Day 2024. So the standard prompt on day 4 asks about art that you think is great. The alternate list presents the prompt Cosmos, with its roll or pick action table to give it flair and that sweet kiss of randomness, if you like. The last link was quite long, so I will once again draw from YouTube Shorts for a fun day 4 entry. This one comes from the Miskatonic Playhouse channel, which you might rightfully expect to be all about Call of Cthulhu in at least one guise or another. One thing that RPG A Day can reveal is that more people than you think play more games than you think. So their entry for day 4 is a quintessential UK offering that they make a great case for loving. For a longer one, I'll direct you to the Noel Inquisitor YouTube channel. And this video for day 4 is really a follow-on to his recent review of an RPG for the Shadow of the Demon Lord RPG called When the Wolf Comes. In this video, the host, who is an artist, does not just identify art that he likes, but he digs into why he likes this art, who it reminds him of, what games it reminds him of, and what that means to him as an artist in the 21st century. I think it's a good one to listen to. And, as you might expect, the links to both of these are in the show notes. Now, I know you're busy, and I'm busy too, but there's one last thought I need to share before we go, and that's about motivation. It's only week 1. but this is a 31-day challenge. Some people view it as a 31-day challenge. Some people view it as 31 days of opportunity, some of which they'll take and some of which they'll pass. I don't know where you fall on that spectrum. I'm happy that you're participating with any of it. And I feel that I really need to shout out the motivational example presented by Joe Richter of the Hindsightless podcast. Joe has been very vocal about his sadness and sense of loss brought about by the massive changes Spotify for podcasters has presented to those of us who hosts our podcast there. In Joe's particular case, it has made making episodes not fun anymore. It has turned pleasure into work. It has changed ease into difficulty. And yet, despite that, he's still participating with enthusiasm, with energy, and good cheer in RPG A Day 2024. And for that, hats off, Joe. Thank you very much. And for all the people out there like Joe who have difficulty of one kind or another participating in an event like this, maybe it's something simple like hesitance about sharing your opinion, or that sense of there will be no likes or no traffic on your post at the end of the day. We thank you too. Okay, that is it for this quick survey of some posts that I enjoyed in this first week of August and its first week of RPG A Day 2024. I hope you had a great week. I hope that you had fun answering or are now considering answering the prompts yourself. For the small nation of people who it seems visited Gen Con this weekend, I hope you had fun and are now fired up to join in the event yourself. Anyway, these were some of my picks for week 1. What posts did you like? What new posters did you subscribe to or follow? What new games have you heard about, or what old games have you been reminded of? Like our hobby, this event is all about communication and interaction. Sharing ideas, sharing experiences, sharing laughter, and shining the light of imagination into the life of anyone open to it. Until next time, take care. You have been listening to the Casting Shadows podcast. If you want to contact the show, details have been provided in the show notes. If you want to leave a voice message, check out speakpipe.com/castingshadowspodcast, all one word. If you want to know what I've been up to for RPG A Day, you can find weekly summaries here, daily posts on castingshadowsblog.com, and random shorts on random days on youtube.com/RuneSlinger.